Stephen, hey, congratulations on your episodic first episode of All My Friends Are Going to Be Strangers.
Thank you. Thank you.
So it just premiered at Dances with Films just recently. How do you feel about that? That's one of the most prestigious film festivals in the world.
I am over the moon. That was a fantastic experience. We had a full house. The audience really responded to it. And also, I was in the company of a bunch of other really great filmmakers. So it was nice to kind of see other films that were really excellent as well. And the Dances with Films people are just fantastic. I mean, they run a really excellent festival, one of the best run festivals I've been to. And I've been all over the world to film festivals. So, and their programming was really unique. And I saw some great films there and stuff. It was just a fantastic experience.
Well, I'm glad you had a terrific experience there, but we have to ask that obligatory question is what what originated you to basically create All My Friends Are Going to Be Strangers?
Well, it's a funny story. I had gone back to grad school to get my master's in filmmaking after years of working in the film business and stuff. And so I was taking a screenwriting course for the first time, and the teacher said, write something you know. And this was a novel I had read when I first got out of college and moved to Los Angeles. And I really kind of related to the novel in ways that are because the main character, Danny Deck, grew up on a ranch. I grew up on a ranch in Texas. He was a writer. I was a wannabe filmmaker. He's a wannabe writer. And so I kind of related to his travails and stuff. And in the novel, he moves to San Francisco. I moved to Los Angeles because I felt like that was the best place to be as a wannabe filmmaker. And so I had read the novel years ago and kind of tracked it through the years. And then when the screenwriting professor said, write what you know. So I went, okay, this is a novel I always identified with. And McMurtry's got a pretty good track record. I mean, they've made excellent films and miniseries from his novels. The HUD was a really excellent movie, Last Picture Show, Terms of Endearment, and then, of course, The Lonesome Dove. And so I thought, well, the streaming era is upon us. People are looking for episodic stuff. So the thing I've always thought was a problem with this novel was it's too much to put into one movie. So I'll try and do it as an episodic streaming thing, and I'll just do a proof of concept, introduce the characters, and kind of give the audience a chance to get to know these people, see if they want to make a journey with them for another, 9 episodes. Or actually, in this case, since there's a half episode, it'd be another, 19 episodes.
So tell me about the challenges of getting the rights to McMurtry's story and then adapting it through a screenplay.
Well, it's been optioned over the years many times, and I was familiar with that, and I knew McMurtry, so I always kind of tracked it through the years to see what was going on, and finally it was available. So I went, okay, not only is my I'm doing what the screenwriting professor said, which is write about something but also this is available. So then I jumped on it and basically, decided, okay, I'll take a shot at adapting it. And now I've written a pilot for it as well. I've got a pitch deck, all the things necessary to go out and try and promote it as a limited series.
Now, your fascination with McMurtry is just because it's just like his life was just comedic somehow, offbeat.
Well, there's actually two answers to that. One is when I was younger, I didn't really know who McMurtry was, and then I saw the Last Picture Show, and I went, "Wow, this guy's telling a story that is so familiar to me because I had grown up on a ranch in a small town, and I really identified with those characters because I knew people like that when I was growing up, and so that is what turned me on to McMurtry's writings. And then I started reading his novels, and then eventually I got to meet him and stuff and realized, well, he came from a very similar background. I grew up on a ranch. He grew up on a ranch. I wanted to be a filmmaker. He wanted to be a writer, and so there were sort of similar paths that we had been on and stuff. And so it's just one of those things where you're just going, okay, this is really, this is a very interesting. And also in the short, you meet this character, Danny, and he's kind of a naive young man who gets caught up with this girl who's sort of fast and kind of out of his league. And I have had experiences like that. So I kind of related to it in terms of, there are women who are just, they just see way down the road. You're still trying to, just get over the next hill. And they're like, 3 miles down the road. And that's kind of the way it is with her. He's kind of a naive, guy who she's really, too much. She's really not somebody who would normally be in his league. But because she's attracted to him, he's like, okay, I'm all in on this, even though maybe instinctually he knows there's something that this is going to go bad and stuff. So it's kind of the story of being young and in love with somebody who's really gorgeous and hoping that the best will work out. And of course, in this instance, it doesn't.
In keeping the spirit of obviously with the story, you kept the setting of I want to say 1969
Exactly.
for it. Tell us about that decision, because that's probably not an easy decision come by, because a lot of people aren't familiar of that era, and you want to keep that spirit alive.
Yeah, part of it is because that was a momentous time in history. I mean, that's the year that men walked on the moon for the first time. It's sort of the height of the anti-war movement, and students all across the United States were protesting and stuff. And yet you have this student who comes to this party, and it's part of an era of like change, and anything is possible. That's the thing about 1969 is like we're coming. It's the free love era, the anti-war era. We're coming out of the civil rights era. All these things that are sort of the pillars of society are crumbling, and there's a new era dawning and stuff where anything is possible. You're on the verge of the movement for environmental justice and stuff, and so a lot of things are coming about that. The challenge to authority is starting to build. That I guess the thing is, question authority is sort of the philosophy of the time. So to me, it's like that's a real important era in our history, and I think that it's something that is people are very curious about. A lot of great music was being performed then. Rock and roll was really on the rise, and most rock and roll came out of the blues era and stuff. So there's a lot of very things that were influential in our society, and the ripples of which are still being felt today.
Now, the reason why I brought up 1969, because a lot of people don't want to create period pieces, is because it's very challenging to find the set, find the costumes. Heck, you found the cars. I mean, tell us about that behind the scenes, workings of trying to put all this together. I can't imagine this is no easy task.
Well, I was very fortunate that I had a great production designer, Mel Ukurza, who's a fantastic production designer. She helped me out enormously. But the with any kind of production, the main task when you're producing a film is, okay, location. And once you find the location, then you kind of have the destination where everybody's going to meet up and stuff. And essentially, this is kind of a one location film. So we went through location services and found this house and went, okay, this is a really cool looking house. I was in grad school. This is actually my master's thesis film. And so as a result, we were able to make a really good deal on it because, it's students filming, don't need permits, etc. And then I got lucky with the cars. I started asking around and found this gentleman who's a car collector, who's British, and he had collected all these old vintage cars, and his girlfriend's an actress. So he said, if you'll put the girlfriend in your film, I'll loan you the cars. So that's how we were able to get the beautiful cars there in the film and stuff. And Mel was she just did sourcing through like thrift shops and stuff. And also in some ways, some of the costumes, etc., were part of, there's a kind of, I think a lot of the Gen Z people are interested in what was going on in the 60s. And so there's that style has sort of come back. So it's pretty easy to find the costumes and whatnot to kind of get everybody dressed, appropriately for the era. And so once you got the location and then the cars helped, and then with the costuming, the rest of it kind of fell into place. And we were just very fortunate because, it's a tall order to do a period film on any budget, much less the mini budget, micro budget that we had.
Well, then, since you brought up with the Gen Z and you utilized young actors into your short film here, tell us about your cast and directing these youngsters to understand 1969.
Well, it was a real eye opener to me because they're curious, they're hungry to know about it and stuff. And so I had them, I created bios for each of the characters so they'd know kind of who the characters were and stuff. And then we did a lot of rehearsing. But the casting process was very interesting because, for instance, for the character of Sally, Victoria came in and I had said, okay, this is a girl from Louisiana. She was probably the beauty queen in her hometown, so we know she's, fairly attractive and, kind of, and also too smart to be a beauty queen. So she's going off to college and stuff in that era. And, a little bit kind of liberated, but at the same time kind of stayed because she wants to have a kid. And so Victoria came in and read for the part. Well, she read in this Louisiana accent. And so I thought, oh, this is great. I found the girl from Louisiana, perfect for my story and stuff. And then in talking to her after she read for the part, I realized she's from Australia. She's not from Louisiana. She totally sold me. So I went, okay, you got the role for sure. And then with the character of Danny, it was interesting because we're casting the British Professor Godwin. And so the actor who plays Danny, Baxter Gaston, he's from America. He had gone to school in St. Andrews in Scotland and studied drama there and stuff, and had come back to America after college. So he had a British agent. And what was interesting was the agent read, oh, you need a guy to play a British professor. We'll send, Baxter's in LA, we'll send him in for the casting and stuff. So Baxter comes in and is going to read for the British professor role, Godwin. And so he reads for it and stuff. And I'm going, well, you're a little bit young in terms of what I was visualizing and stuff. Tell me about yourself. Well, it turns out that Baxter's from Austin, Texas. That's where he grew up. And before he went off to college in at St. Andrews in Scotland. And so I went, oh, okay, well, why don't you read for Danny? I think that might be a better shot. And that happens a lot with films where I hear stories all the time of actors saying, I went to read for one role, and the director saw me and thought, well, I'd be better in something else. And so that's how I ended up casting Baxter as Danny, which is kind of fortuitous because he has the right look and has the kind of naive quality I was looking for, the guy who's about to get, just run through the chainsaw with Sally.
And all this was filmed in your old state of Texas?
Yeah. We actually, no, we did not film in Texas. We made it look like Texas, but we actually filmed outside of Los Angeles because I grew up in Texas and stuff. But the thing about filming in Los Angeles is you actually get people, you have a better selection of actors to be in your film because all the best actors live here. And so it's a lot easier to offer roles to people if they know they're going to be staying in their own bed at night and stuff. You get just a much higher quality of actor. And so we actually filmed it here. But I picked a location that I knew could be a location in Texas because the scenery, everything about it looked like stuff you'd see, in the Austin area, which is where it's supposed to take place.
Most excellent. Well, Stephen, let me start wrapping things up because I understand that this was a TV pilot in its own way. So in essence, how much of a story have you actually written out for yourself, and what do you hope to expect to go back to production soon?
Well, I would like to, yeah. What I did was I sort of saw this as kind of a proof of concept for a pilot that would then be made into a limited series for streaming, because the novel is in my opinion is too big to be made into a feature film. Be better as a limited series, and there's a hunger for that with all the streaming services and even the cable services now having streaming stuff. And so basically I've written a pilot episode that's 1 hour long. And then I've also got a Bible for an entire season, as well as a pitch deck. So I have all the sort of tools that you'd want to go to a network and say, okay, this could be a really good limited series. Let's take a shot at it. And then the interesting thing is with McMurtry, these characters, like Quentin Tarantino once said that this is one of the greatest books he's ever read, this novel. And the reason he liked it is because the characters appear in other novels that McMurtry wrote. So this opens a whole thing of, oh, not only could you do one season with this novel, then there's several other novels that these characters appear in that you could then turn into season 2, season 3, season 4. You could do easily 5 or 6 seasons with these characters as they grow older and sort of go on with their lives and time and stuff.
Well, you certainly thought of the long game. So
thank you.
That kudos to you. Stephen, thank you very much for speaking to us about All My Friends Are Going to Be Strangers. It was what I watched, the 15, 16 minutes of it, it was very delightful. And I agree. I want to see more.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on. Have a great day.
Hey, you too. Thank you.